Okay, here we go. I'll try this again. Yeah, the sound is
Red core is heavily damaged.
yeah, I've been messing around with
critical.
the sound because yeah, these past few videos the sound has been very screwed up, and it's
Red core is critical.
been a huge annoyance. But as with so many other things, I've just been leaving it go because I've basically been living at work for the past year and a half. Oh God, it's just annoying as hell, you know. What can I tell you? So, yeah, I switched out the motherboard,
Grab your orb.
and then
Red core
the sound
is
just went all
vulnerable.
to hell.
Red core is secure.
And I ended up trying all kinds of stupid things, and then come to find out it was just an ERC conflict. And all I really needed to do was figure out a way to switch around, consult the manual. Is what you do in these cases. You consult the manual, you find out what ERCs are assigned to what slots, and you make sure your sound card is not sharing an ERC with your video card because of what slots they're in. You move them around to a slot so they're not sharing an ERC. And some video cards can share an ERC with the video card. Some video cards can share an ERC with the sound card, and it's not going to cause a problem. But the sound card I got is not one of those. It does not want to share an ERC. So yeah, I mean,
the west node.
That's the main thing I had to do was switch those cards around. That's not going to affect the sound on this match here because this match was recorded. The game sound from this match was recorded before I switched them cards around, so it's got a little bit of fuzzed out quality to it. It's a little annoying, but hopefully I'll do better with some of the more recent recordings once I get around to posting some of them. Although I come to find out, I think that there's actually more to it than that, because when I started reinstalling the drivers, I didn't install the stock drivers. I installed some third parties, basically their hack of the creative drivers. Since creative since creative never updates their drivers at all, there's been at least one person who's taken it on himself to basically hack up their official drivers and put them into a format that's slightly less annoying than the one creative provides you with. Creative drivers as they're provided are really kind of fucked up. They do annoying things like install your drivers, and then you actually have to go through all kinds of hell to uninstall them if you want to do that.
Grab the shape charge.
This guy simplified the installation process a little bit, so you don't have to go through all that kind of ridiculous crap. We're dominating very much here, aren't we? That's probably why I posted this. I posted about 20 seconds of the match before this too, because we just basically stomped all over the other team on this one. This match is a little bit more even than that one. Alright, I think we're on the Axon side here, so we're using the quote-unquote the weak weapons, although I don't really think these asymmetrical maps are as uneven as people make them out to me. You just have to use a different set of tactics depending on which side you're on is all. But the popular thing is to have maps where each side has exactly the same resources and exactly the same topology and everything else.
The enemy prime node.
Which, yeah, you know, does simplify the proceedings quite a bit. But maps like this where you got differences between the sides, you know, I like them. They're all right. You just have to take different approaches for depending on which side you're on. So yeah, I installed these custom drivers, and among other things, they installed their own control panel for controlling things like microphone volume and equalizer, X-Fi crystal, all these other crazy things that creative cards do. And it didn't occur to me, but you know, apparently it's not like the multiple volume controls you find around Windows. it's actually a good idea if I'm using the creative panel that came with this these drivers. It's a good idea if I'm using them that I should basically turn off the corresponding control panels that come with
the west node.
that Windows sets up for you, because running them both at the same time apparently causes distortion in the sound when I go to record them. It seems kind of odd, and I'm not sure why that should be, but that's basically what I've taken to doing. I basically turn off all the Windows control panels for volume control and all that crap, and just use the ones that come with the drivers there. I guess I could have just skipped installing these particular control panels. That might have been easier, but now that I got them, they're prettier, so I'll use those. That's pretty much the criteria I'm working with here. I was trying to support that walker, but we lost that, didn't it? Yeah. So yeah, I've been really slow about posting anything as usual, just because I got so much bullshit I gotta contend with. What with working overtime every goddamn day of the week, and working weekends most of the time. Having to work on my car and do 18 different other things. Now I gotta start thinking of getting my taxes together, which is pretty screwed up. I gotta fill out that stupid form and see what kind of ridiculous. Oh my god, this is actually a pretty good match. The red's gonna start coming back a little bit. I gotta start looking at taxes and figuring out what's gonna go on with that stupid fucking Obamacare bullshit. That stuff is unconstitutional. I'm telling you, man. I'm buying into that theory for sure, because you're required, in order to get health insurance. This is strictly logical. Yes, sir. I can lay it out with geometrically for you. Yeah. You love this kind of thing, don't you? Yeah. Yeah, in order to get health insurance, you got to submit all kinds of personal information and your medical records and the whole 9 yards. And if you've ever read a medical release form for an insurance company, they're complete bullshit. They basically say, we can take your information and do whatever the fuck we want with it. And there ain't a goddamn thing you can do about it. That's basically what they say. And, they can't, I guess they count on people not actually reading this shit. Well, basically they tell you can either sign this agreement, you're not, or else you're not getting any insurance. That's basically what it comes down to. So yeah, if the law requires you to get this crap and penalizes you if you don't, then basically you're being required to submit to a search and seizure of your personal records, regardless of whether you want to release those records or not. If you're not required by insurance, then you don't have to give up those records. You just don't get insurance. But if you're required to get insurance, or fined if you don't get insurance, then you're basically being told you have to give up all kinds of information about yourself on pain of government sanction. It's unconstitutional. It violates the Fourth Amendment, in my opinion. I'm sure there's been some bullshit attempt to drag that through court. It's probably a couple years ago, and I'm sure it failed miserably. Because of course there is no justice, and the Illuminati are in control, and the lizards are eating our brains. I know that. I understand that perfectly well. I've listened to AM radio before. What a load of crap.
Defend the east node.
Obama's a nice guy and everything like that, but I really think he screwed up with that particular law. But other than that, I think he's done all right. But that is a fucked up law. It's not gonna help the country at all. But I don't think anybody here really wants to hear me rant about anything political, though. I should probably. I'm tired. It's late at night. What can I tell you?
Attack the east node.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are gonna regret passing that law before it's all over with. I think it's gonna screw them on several of their upcoming elections, and I think it was a factor in screwing them in the last election. But we'll see. I could be wrong about all that. I try not to take politics too damn seriously, because politics is just basically a necessary evil. It's something you have to put up with whether you want to or not.
Grab your orb.
It's probably best not to get too too attached to your precious opinions. Oh god, I hate it when tanks spawn campy like this. I'm going to try to get up close to this rock and get an arrow into him if I can. Might get one before he nails me.
Attack the west
That's
node.
Duong Tran Va, you know, he knows what he's doing back there. I'm going to get into this thing and try to finish him off with the rear, which is kind of tough because this thing has a slow rate of fire. Well, it's got a pretty quick rate of fire, but you got to pause at least 3 or 4 seconds. Did manage to take him out, but now somebody has hijacked the vehicle. They've jumped in the driver's seat, and now I got to ditch the vehicle because he's heading off to the center while our prime is down, which is inexplicable to me. I'm like, why are you doing that? But be that as it may, I'm going to go where I'm needed, which is the prime. Amazingly, I'm going to manage to shoot it down, so hopefully we minimize the amount of damage to our core. Meanwhile, the orb runner came in and capped, which is a great thing. And now we had a couple vehicles headed towards center, but I noticed the nightshade going the other way. We managed to knock down the orb runner, but that nightshade is still there. I'm gonna waste my vehicle getting rid of him.
Attack the east node.
Which is probably about as good a use of that vehicle as anyway, but the other character down there on foot finished me off, and yeah, so yeah, see, Red's making an effort. They've got us pushed back. They've taken a good 47 points off our core. There's Geronimo up there. He loves to get up on top of cliffs and snipe people from up there. Fortunately, he picked a spot I could get to him pretty easily with the shock balls from this vehicle. I'm probably going to lose this bender pretty quick. Oh, maybe not. I think I'm going to rush it forward because we got the orb runner here ahead of this. I'm going to escort him and just hope that Red doesn't bring their orb in the other way. Oh, and we're in trouble already. There's about 3 people covering our approach. The orb runner is down, but I think the orb is still, yeah, the orb hasn't been destroyed yet. And amazingly, I've managed to take out all the Reds between us and the node and get this vehicle under cover. So if our orb can get, well, we've tagged the node. If we can get our orb in there, we might actually be able to hold this. Yeah, we got the orb in there, but the orb runner's down immediately, so the node goes down. Red's got a man in there. I think he's suicided on the orb, but there's no other revs. Well, there's a nightshade over there, but he looks like he's got his hands full. There's a Viper over to the left trying to take me out.
Tentacle deployed.
Okay.
Tentacle deployed.
So yeah, we're in pretty good shape at this point. We don't have the side nodes. That's kind of a bad thing, because that means we're going to be losing. Yeah, you can see our prime is wearing down because Red has both the side nodes, but we got somebody working on a side node. Oh.
Tentacle retracted.
One nice thing about being on basically a game that's slowly dying a painful death is that the people that do play generally know what the hell they're doing. So you get a lot of really good games playing this game. Well, you may not appreciate them until you've played it long enough to know what's going on. A lot of the new people that come into these games, they have no idea what's going on. Some people never catch up. Some people, you know, they just can't. They just don't progress past the point of, you know, look, I'm running around on screen, I'm shooting everything I see. You know, that's pretty much all it is for them. You know, which is all right. I try not to take all this stuff too seriously. I mean, you're doing this to have fun. If you're not having fun, then, you know, there's no point really. And yeah, it's which is why I do this basically. You know, there's not too many video games I enjoy playing all that much. Not to the extent that I wanted to keep at them and actually become fairly good at them. So, you know, you come across one, it's pretty good. You know, I'm glad Epic still, you know, makes an effort or supports this game to the extent of keeping the server up and actually putting UT4 out. I mean, that's just awesome. And it's awesome that they didn't decide to go out and start building rockets or some crazy ass shit like that, like some of these other people do.
Red core is vulnerable. Grab the shape charge.
Yeah, I really don't want to see you building rockets, man. Don't waste your time like
Red
that,
core
man.
is
That guy
under
over there in
attack.
England with the
Attack
reaction
the
engines
west
and
node.
the Sabre engine, he's going to make
Red
all your
core is
rockets
secure.
obsolete. Well, that's what I hope is going to happen. Oh God, that's under over giving me a tow. He dragged me right into that bender. What he should have done there at that point was to jump the vehicle up the last part so that I could be flung forward and basically jumped over all that shit. Of course, the bender could have still took us both out with shock balls, but he would have had to have been paying attention for that to happen, and he may not have been paying attention. I think we'd have had a better chance. I'm not going forward right now because I'm a little low on health. I'm waiting for these health balls out here to spawn so I can build that up a little bit. Red's trying to come in and cause trouble, but they're not having a whole lot of success right now. There's fire on the enemy prime, and Red for their part is trying to take one of the side nodes because we got both of those. Yeah, and I'm going after the prime, but I'll probably just get knocked off my board. I don't think I'm going to make this. Yeah, it's about as close as I'm going to get. I don't even know what hit me there. Some vehicle ran over me, I believe. Our walker's looking pretty weak, but we got 3 people healing it, so we got a 3-way link going. That'll help. And here comes another Viper. I'm going to jump into the Walker secondary gunner seat and support him a little bit. He's looking pretty good. Now he's starting to take some fire. There's some fire on the center. There's a Nemesis back there somewhere. And now the Walker has wandered into the Nemesis's field of fire, and that's going to make short work of him. The red orb is over there. I'm going to do a shock combo over there. Really no good at shock combos at all. I basically have to be standing still to do it. I mean, I don't know how people can be so coordinated to where they can basically let off a shock ball at a dead run in a random direction and actually hit the damn thing without stopping and trying to aim at it, by which time it's wandered out of range. I have a hard time with that. It requires practice. I'm not so disciplined that I tend to practice. My practice is pretty much when I play, and whatever skill I have is pretty much what I've developed just from playing the game, you know? Which is really not the way to do it. But I tend to do things the wrong way, just like this with capturing these videos. I most definitely do not capture these videos the correct way at all. If I had any sense at all, what I'd do is I'd go get one of these modern and convenient simplified video capture modules that AverMedia puts out. I'd probably buy an AverMedia, one of the newer ones, you know, that does video compression on the fly. And I don't just mean Huffy compression. I mean, you know, like MP4 or MKV or some shit like that. On the fly, you know, while you're recording. Which this setup I got here most definitely does not. What I got here is basically a collection of miscellaneous hardware that I picked up over several years, you know. Like I've got an old AverMedia capture card. It does 1080p, but you know, there's no hardware compression on it. It uses the computer it's plugged into to do to provide all the computing power to do any compression, which means that you're not going to do no heavy duty compression. You got to stick with like Huffy compression or some variation on it that doesn't require a whole lot of computation and doesn't provide a huge amount of compression, and then just make up for that with huge hard drives. You know, I've got like a couple of terabytes of hard drives that I use for nothing but dumping video on. That's all they're for, is dumping video. And that gives me about maybe 3-4 hours of capacity.
Attack the west node.
And then if I want to capture sound, the inputs of all these capture cards, even the newer ones, I think are only stereo inputs. You can't. I don't know of any capture device that'll take quadraphonic inputs. So if I want to pick up the back channels, I got to use a hardware mixer. And you start plugging in a hardware mixer, and you got 2 computers and a couple different sound drivers in one of them. What it comes down to is that I've got about 3 or 4 different sets of volume levels that I have to twiddle with
1 minute remains.
You know, and if they're not all set right, there's going to be hum or all kinds of shit in the sound. So I had to spend some time twiddling around with that. And I don't really like twiddling around because it means I actually have to sit there and play practice games, which, you know, as I said earlier, I don't like to do. So I'm lazy. What can I tell you?
Denied.
And I'm cheap, you know. I don't want to go out there and throw away all this stuff that I already bought just to buy this brand new thing, even though it's really snazzy looking and it's the size of a paperback book, you know, and it's all shiny and it's got a light on the top, you know, big red light, you know.
Red core
I like
is
the big red
vulnerable.
light, but I just don't want to buy it. Also, it's kind of an adventure every time you buy a new piece of hardware like that, because there's no real standard for any of all this. They're kind, you know, you go buying one of these gadgets, and you know, the danger is that after you buy it, then you're going to discover that there's some work in the technical specs. And it's not going to do quite exactly what you thought it was going to do. That's what happens. You know, anytime you buy anything new, that's likely to happen. When I bought this 120 hertz monitor that I'm using, I didn't realize that when I plugged that in, that the NVIDIA drivers on the computer were going to have a problem with pulling the video out to the secondary video outputs on the video card when I'm running it at 120. Didn't want to do it. Well, the difficulty is that the capture card only captured 60 hertz. But the monitor is 120 hertz.
Red core destroyed. Blue team wins the match.
Okay, well, I'm sure you've heard enough of that for now. That was a real nice match. Sorry I didn't actually provide any actual coverage, but I hope the sound's better. Everything.